Hello, Southern California, and welcome to this week's edition of Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. He is the founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management, and I'm your host, Kristen Oakley. We're so glad you're joining us today. We want to start off today's show with an important question for you, and that is, are you looking at your taxes through the rearview mirror or through the windshield? You're going to want to hang with us to understand what we're talking about today and understand, most importantly, what it means for you. Tom, my friend, so good to be here with you as always. How are you this week?
I am doing well, and I want to tell all of you out there, please stay with us because we are going to talk about taxes, but we're going to give you help. Yes. We're not going to try to just bore it into you or just touch a sore spot that it might be, especially in the first part of a year where you're having to file your income taxes. But are you looking at them? And interesting that you bring that up. Are we looking at them in the rear view mirror or through the windshield?
Yes, and the reason we phrase it that way is there is a huge difference between tax preparation, which most folks are very familiar with. It happens once a year. We have to prepare our taxes from what happened last year. That would be looking in the rear view mirror. But looking ahead through the windshield means you're engaging in strategic tax planning. And this is something that really sets the team of Mosley Wealth Management apart, is that they engage in this proactive strategic tax planning for you, their clients. And, you know, I think that's where we need to start today, is understanding the difference between those two things.
Well, I love my CPA. Okay, we served on a ministry team together for 7 years at our church in Yorba Linda. He has since moved to Nashville, Tennessee. He's still my CPA, so he's probably not listening to this telecast or watching, so I can say this. He calls me generally twice a year regarding my taxes. He's reactive. Okay, because he's reacting in, let's say, 2025 to my tax situation from 2024. That's the rear view mirror. And he calls me in February and says, Tom, get your stuff in. He's actually not that annoying the way he sounds. He's really a nice guy. But then he calls me again before the 15th of March when I have to file my two businesses, and he files my personal along with it. And he says, Tom, I've got your stuff ready. And all of it is looking at the rear view mirror. Why do we say that? Why does Kristen say that? Why do I say that? Because it's always looking back at what's already happened. I mean, when you're looking in a rearview mirror, you've already passed that, okay, unless you're backing up. And you're looking behind you, whereas what we try to do with our clients at Mosley Wealth Management, in every case where we can, we look through that windshield of life. And we're looking at the next 15, 20, 25 years through all the circumstances that they might go through. What's coming up? Well, there may be a hill coming up. There may be a downhill coming up. There may be a curve coming up. There may be a curveball coming to you in your life. What happens if all of those things that are in the windshield of life, looking down the road, happen to you? What are they going to do to your taxes? Are you ready? Are you not reacting, but are you proactive in what you're trying to do in taxes? See, our goal at Mosley Wealth Management, and please listen to this, it's important that you hear this, is that you pay as little as you're legally required to pay in your lifetime on taxes, which might mean that you're paying more now so that you can pay a lot less later. Remember that oil filter commercial? I won't say the name, okay? But we were always asked, do you want to pay me now or pay me later? And if you wait till later, it's always a lot more. And many times, and we're going to show you, stick with us on this show, we're going to show you how paying your taxes, say what taxes? The taxes you're going to have to pay on your 401k. The taxes you're going to have to pay on your IRA, on your 403B, your 457, your government-sponsored retirement in any way, your pension, all of those taxes, how are they going to be taxed as you get that money through your lifetime? And what's that going to do to you? How many different things is that going to impact you? Those are the questions you need to ask if you're looking out the windshield. If you're looking out the rearview mirror, you're just saying, wow, what do I owe for last year? Oh, wow, look at that. I got my figure. That is not a proactive way. That is not a great way for you to pay less overall taxes in your lifetime.
You know, Tom, as you were talking, it also reminded me of another helpful analogy that goes right along with this conversation, that when you're engaging in tax preparation, it's almost like you're an archaeologist, because you're looking in the past at what already happened. But when you're engaging in strategic tax planning, you get to be the architect. You are building a plan to help your clients pay the least that they are legally required to pay to the IRS. That's the goal. We don't want you to pay any more to the IRS than you are legally required to pay. And what a lot of folks have forgotten is that the tax code was actually written to help you pay the least amount of tax possible. I think folks forget that, and they just assume that taxes, that's just how it is. There's nothing that can be done about it. But no, you can be the architect, and you can build a better tax plan for yourself.
Many people have that attitude, and they've experienced this. It's like the old joke that the new tax plan is, what did you make, what did you spend, what do you have left, send it in. You know, but because they just assume that what you're told to do is the only way to do it, and there aren't any better ways to do it. Now, I want to go back to the architect. Two years ago, my wife and I had the privilege to go to Israel. And I remember we were up by the Sea of Galilee, and we were at Mary Magdalene's house. And there was an architect over in a pit, and we got to sit there and watch that architect. Actually, it was a team of architects, but the one I was watching was a lady. And she was meticulously just brushing off. She was an archaeologist.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
She was an archaeologist, and she was meticulously dusting off this piece that she had found, and I don't know what it would end up being, but when we went into the museum and we sat down and we had a little bit of a lecture, and they showed us a piece that they had found. And, you know, I'm not a skeptic, but just always somebody who's wanting to ask more questions. I said, how much of that was actually found versus what you filled in the blanks? And they said, we have a slide. And so the next slide that they had, the next PowerPoint that they had, it showed that they had found about 6 pieces of this, it was a stool-like thing, and they had found about 6 pieces, and they had fabricated by knowing what the other pieces would look like. They were putting it together. That's what an archaeologist does. He says, this is what we're seeing that happened in the past, and this is the full meaning of what it looked like. That's like that tax preparer who's looking at last year's taxes.
Right. Yep.
Now, flip that illustration to the architect now, okay?
Yes.
My wife and I are redoing our backyard. So, and this was my wife's idea. You know, she said, well, you know, if you pass away before me, I want to not travel as much. I want to, you know, live in the backyard. So I said, I'm calling it the Tom Mosley Memorial Backyard because it's for my wife whenever I pass away, okay? But she wants a fire pit, and she wants a cooking stand and cooking area underneath a shed, and we want to redo our pool because Colette, our 8-year-old granddaughter, wants a deeper end to our pool, and we've just got one of those 3-foot on either end pools. So there's all kinds of stuff we're doing. But what do we have? We hired an architect to come in and say, and that architect said, okay, here are your options. You've got options as to color. Where do you want the fire pit? Where do you want the kitchen area? Where do you want the television so I can watch the games, you know what I mean, outside? What do you want to do with the pool? Which end do you want to go deep? Where do you want to rearrange and put the pool? All of those things.
Right, all
and
the
that,
details.
That architect asked us so many questions, and then they came back to us with really a magnificent drawing. Okay. Well, we sat there and looked at that drawing, and even though it was magnificent and it was 90% of what we wanted, then we tweaked a few things on that drawing, and now they're starting that process of building our backyard. Fast forward to retirement planning. Okay?
Yep.
That is exactly what we do, especially from the area of taxes. That we're going to ask a gazillion questions. How many is a gazillion? It's a lot, okay? We're going to ask as many questions as it takes for us to get a view for what you see as your retirement. And as an architect, not an archaeologist, but as an architect, we're going to begin to fabricate and put together a retirement blueprint for you that is a perfect picture of what you want your retirement to look like. We're going to show it to you in another meeting, and you're going to say, ooh, I like that. I really like that. That solves that problem. There's the fire pit. There's the kitchen. You know, on that other place where we're just going to have the sitting area, could we move that slightly? Sure, we can move it. It's your backyard. It's your retirement. That's a perfect picture of what we do. And underlying all of this is the tax ramifications of your financial plan. 𝗬𝗏, who's known as America's authority on IRAs and 401ks, has said that taxes are the single biggest issue that'll take away your retirement dreams because you don't really understand. I'm surprised how many people back there in the fall, during the presidential election of 2024, how many people would come to our Social Security workshops and they were shocked to know that one of the candidates was candidating on a platform that said they didn't want to tax Social Security anymore. And they were shocked that they were going to get taxed on Social Security. See, that's where you need the professional. You need somebody to put that plan together. It's your plan. We're your architect to build it the way you want, and we're going to build it, and we're not going to get it completely right. You're going to want to tweak it. Let's move that. Let's move that. Let's put that into place because it's your retirement, and that's what we do, especially from the area of taxes when we build your plan.
Yes, and this is why we have to talk about this, and we're going to go into a lot more depth throughout today's episode. But if this is resonating with you, if you know that you need help putting a full financial plan together and specifically making sure that it has greater tax efficiency throughout it, we encourage you to pick up the phone, call the number you see on the bottom of your screen, and come in to meet with one of the all-star advisors from Mosley Wealth Management to receive your very own complimentary retirement blueprint. That number to call is 866-709-1462. Or if you'd rather connect online, you can simply scan that QR code and that will get you connected as well. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we're going to be sharing with you a very special resource completely complimentary to you that you can actually utilize in real time during the show. We're going to walk you through how to use it so that you can see what your potential tax bill might be in retirement and what steps and solutions you can take even now to begin reducing it. Stay with us.
Welcome to Right on the Money Moment with Tom Mosley. My name is 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗀, and Tom, I have a very important question for you today. Taxes. I want to talk to you. What's going on with taxes right now?
Do you like to pay taxes?
No.
Yeah, I like to pay everything that's legally required, but nothing more, and that's what we try to do with all of our clients. What's going on with taxes right now is taxes are going to go up in the future. In fact, we know when. On January 1st of 2026, all of the rates that we have right now for the brackets, they all move around. They go back to the higher brackets, and they're going to go up about 2 to 5%. What I encourage people to do, and if you're listening, you need to take a macro view of taxation. And by that I mean a lot of people take a view of taxation like they're driving down the road of retirement, and they're always looking in the rear view mirror to see how much tax did I have to pay for last year. You're always looking back. If you drive down the road looking in your rear view mirror, you're going to have a crash. You need to look out the windshield, and instead of saying, what do I have to pay for taxes for last year? You need to be saying, what am I going to have to pay for taxes? You say, where on your IRAs, your 401ks, your 403bs, all of that money's got to be taxed before you can spend it. So you need to be asking yourself, how much am I going to have to pay in a macro view down the windshield of life in taxes over my lifetime? And you need to be working with somebody who can come in and help you lower that tax burden that you're going to have. It's going to be major, and you need to know how much it's going to be and how you can alleviate some of those big tax bills that are going to come down the road. That's what I like about taxes, is that you can do something about it now. A lot of people, Cynthia, say, well, I'm glad I don't really have a tax plan. Guess what? You do. The government has one for you. You need to get your own.
Tom, sage advice. Thank you so much. To our viewers at home, thank you for spending time with us.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and if you're just tuning in and joining us, we started off today's episode with a question for you. Are you looking at your taxes through the rearview mirror or through the windshield of your life? And we talked about the differences between engaging in tax preparation versus engaging in strategic tax planning and why that's so important for you to do. Now, before the break, I teased the fact that we are going to be sharing a very special resource for you that you can utilize even during today's show, completely complimentary, to see what your potential tax bill might be in retirement. So we're going to put a site here on the bottom of the screen that we encourage you to visit. It's 𝗬𝗎𝗇axbill.com. You can simply go to that website, or you can scan that QR code that will take you directly to this tax tool. Now, before we walk you through it, Tom, I would love for you to share with our viewers what this is and why you're offering it.
Well, let me just say, first of all, it's just a little bit of confession on television all over Southern California. I used to be afraid of the dark. Okay, I was just one of those kids that was afraid of the dark. But what I wasn't afraid of was the light switch, because when I turned on the light, I could see that there weren't any bad guys, there weren't any boogers, there weren't anybody to come get me, because I knew it. And I think what I run into in 30 years of working with people and helping them retire is taxes are such an unknown, and you just feel like, I guess, a person who has lost control of their life and they're just with the waves, they're being tossed here or there, and well, whatever they tell me to pay, I'm going to pay. And there's an opportunity to turn the light on and to see what your taxes are if you go by the government's plan, or to do your own plan, to put together your own plan with a professional, and to see not how much you have to pay according to the government's plan, but how much you can save. So some of the great people that I work with at Magellan Financial have helped me put together this program. It's called 𝗬𝗎𝗇axbill.com. And Kristen, I'm not going to push this any further because you have a great way of explaining it.
Absolutely.
Why don't you explain to them, and please listen closely, because if you go to that 𝗬𝗎𝗇axbill.com that you see on your screen, you'll be able to, I'm jumping all over your stuff. I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to turn it over to you.
It's a tag team collaborative effort.
I know.
But I'm a very visual person, and I think it's really helpful to walk through this so you can know exactly what to expect and what you're going to receive. Again, this is completely complimentary to you, no strings attached. So here's what we invite you to do. Visit 𝗬𝗎𝗇axbill.com. Again, you can also do it on your smartphone. Simply take it out and scan that QR code. It's going to take you over to a landing page that looks like this. It's going to ask you for some very basic information. You're going to put in your name, your current age, and your email address so that your own report can be emailed to you after the fact. You're also going to put in how much money you have saved up in tax-deferred accounts. It could be a 401k, a 403b, a traditional IRA, things of that nature. Then there's two little sliders at the bottom that you can play around with and adjust. One is you can adjust the assumed tax liability for yourself, as well as you can adjust the assumed growth rate of that tax-deferred bucket of money that you have. Then, once you click Submit, boom, side by side, you're going to see the difference between what the government's tax plan is for you if you do nothing. That number there on the left is how much you could potentially pay in taxes over your lifetime, versus on the right, how much less you could pay in tax if you enact some of these tax-saving strategies that Tom and the team of Mosley Wealth Management engage in for their clients. Then you're also going to receive a 4-page report emailed to you. This is one of those pages, a quick snapshot, and as you can see, it'll break down your numbers for you, but I want to highlight on here, for this example, this person had $600,000 saved up in tax-deferred money. They assumed their tax liability was 22% and an assumed growth rate of 6%. And Tom, if we look down there at the bottom line, look at that. Over $800,000 potentially they might have to pay in tax over their lifetime on a $600,000 IRA. That's the government's tax plan for them, versus only having to pay $132,000. Those numbers are staggering, and once you see that, you can't unsee it, right?
No, you can't. Well, some people do. Some people actually look at that, and you say, is it always 830 something and 132? No, it's your numbers, okay? It's your report based on what you have in IRAs, 401ks, tax deferred accounts. But some people look at it and actually say, this can't be it's not possible.
Right. How is it possible to owe potentially more tax than what the account is currently worth, right? I'm sure you get that question a lot.
No, it's absolutely true. And, you know, I think I want to defer that to the next segment.
Okay.
I really do, because what you're looking at in that 830 to 132.
Let's put up that report again just to take a look at it here.
You're looking
it is very powerful.
You're looking at the what. All right? When we come back, I want to tell you the so what. So what do I do about that?
Yes.
And how do I transfer my IRAs and my 401ks? What process do I go through to get from owing potentially $830-something thousand in tax to $130,000 in tax? You've got to stay with us.
Yes, for sure. Tom, thank you. Again, we invite you to visit 𝗍𝗇𝗏𝗋𝗋.com or click on that QR code so you can see what your numbers look like for yourself. And once you see that, I'm pretty confident you're going to want to reach out to the team of Mosley Wealth Management and schedule your time to receive your complimentary retirement blueprint. That number to call to schedule that time is 866-709-1462, or you're also welcome to scan that QR code. That will get you connected to be able to make that complimentary appointment that way as well. Stay with us. When we come back, as Tom promised, he's going to share the solution on how you can be the architect of your tax plan versus settling for what the government's tax plan might be for you. Stay with us.
We know the market is going to get worse from here. This is the biggest monthly decline in 10 years. People's 401ks took a major hit.
Well, my investments are tanking. My retirement isn't going as planned. I can't believe I let my kid talk me into buying crypto. I mean, what is that anyway?
This was the fourth worst contraction in history.
So how are you two doing?
Your financial future doesn't have to be uncertain. I'm Tom Mosley with Mosley Wealth Management. If you have amassed a nest egg, it's time for a financial advisor to help you reach your retirement goals. This is one of the greatest tax windows in history. Now is the time to take advantage of this tax discount while you can. We specialize in retirement planning, tax mitigation, estate planning, and much more. Plan your retirement right. Call now for your portfolio review and tax analysis. Did you ever think your own retirement will be shared with our government? It's true. Your 401k, IRA, pension, or similar retirement accounts are in partnership with Uncle Sam. Simply put, they want their tax dollars and you have them. With our latest tax calculator, you can plug in your own number while sitting at home. To find out what your future tax liability may be, scan the QR code or go to 𝗍𝗇𝗏𝗋𝗋.com.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley, where today Tom and I have been discussing this incredible tool, 𝗍𝗇𝗏𝗋𝗋.com. We encourage you, if you have not yet visited this site, to do so now. You can visit the website or click on that QR code to see your numbers in real time of what your potential tax bill might be in retirement, and the difference between what the government's tax plan for you is if you do nothing versus how much less you could pay in tax if you enact some of these tax saving strategies. And Tom, you promised before the break you were going to be sharing the solution to how we make this difference, right? How do we become the architect of our own tax plan? So I'm excited to have this conversation.
The so what? Okay, so what do we do about it? So we looked at last time at this slide that shows you the difference in the government's plan and if you have the plan for yourself. And that plan
Yeah, we'll put the report back up and so you
Yeah,
can see it.
there's
There
the
we go.
report. It's like over $800,000 potentially that you could pay on the government's plan versus paying as little as $132,000. Now, here's the so what. Once you know that those numbers are possible, you've got to start delving into how do we do that? We do it through a process called Roth conversions. We do it through a second process because a Roth conversion could all be done in 1 year, or it could be done over a period of years.
Systematically. Yeah.
We call that tax harvesting, okay? And so you don't want to just run out and do it all in 1 year, or you've moved yourself into generally a much higher tax bracket, and it's not as effective. So what you want to do, we're assuming 22% every year, and we begin to, within that bracket, if you fit that bracket, 24% is the next bracket, so it's only 2% more, we begin to harvest over from the pre-tax IRA to the Roth IRA that we will set up for you. And in the pre-tax IRA, you are forever taxed as long as there's money there. But when it gets over to the Roth IRA, you're never taxed on that again. So you do a bit at a time, staying within the proper tax brackets. How do you do that? We have another software we run your tax return through, and it tells us what harvesting is going to do to your tax bracket, what it's going to do to your capital gains, what it's going to do to your Medicare Part B and Part D, because doing something erroneously or doing something that's not good for you could drive all of those up to where it's not profitable. So you've got to be careful with this. It's surgery. You know, it's not putting on a Band-Aid, it's surgery. It's going inside and really working with the nuts and bolts of the numbers. So once you know how much you can save, you come meet with us, we're able to run this software, and we can develop your own specific plan. How many years do you have until you hit required minimum distributions? Maybe you're 65, you have 8 years. If you're 60, you may have 15 years. And so we can harvest that out over a period of time, paying your tax rate at your choice when you want to do it versus doing it the government's way. 800,000 plus potentially on the one side, on the government's way, 132,000 on your plan. Yeah. Which do you like?
Yeah, and that example is so powerful to be able to illustrate just that. So Tom, I'm confident once people see your own numbers, you are definitely going to want to reach out to the team of Mosley Wealth Management and get your tax plan in place as part of that complimentary retirement blueprint. That number to call is 866-709-1462. We love you, Southern California. Be safe, be happy, be blessed, and we look forward to being back with you next time here on Right on the Money with Tom Mosley.